Hello and welcome to Delta Sparks Pod. As always, I am Evan. This is Andy, aka Dewey Pop Pop,
Pop, pop, pop,
aka
pop, pop.
Shooter McGavin. Shatter McGavin. Shat
Oh,
your
no.
pants and finger
These,
guns.
these nicknames keep getting worse and worse for me.
Yeah. Well, remember there was also Andushi.
Yeah, that was another
Yeah.
gem you
That
came
was
up
another
with.
phone. Andy, so we have a pretty interesting guest today.
I know.
So we've had a lot of tradespeople. We've had some just personalities or personality disorders, depending on if you're talking about the guest or myself. This person today, I think we should just really jump into it. Here's the rundown. Fun facts. Okay. So our guest today originated in Canada, but spends their time split between Canada, Florida, which is basically the armpit of my country, and the Bahamas. Accomplishments. This person had 4 kids. I don't know how they pushed them out. Owns a shit ton of companies and has had 500 episodes on TV. I swear to God, this is not Bill Cosby. Fun fact: our guest today says, I don't know if they brought it with them, but says they can give Ron Burgundy a run for his money on the flute. I don't know about you. I'm a huge Yaz flute fan. You can find our guest today on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Brian Baumler. Please welcome to Delta Sparks Pod, the one, the only, Brian Baumler.
Hi, Brian.
That's me. Hi.
Did I say your name right? I've been really focusing on Baumler.
Baumler. You just throw all the vowels in there. They're all alphabetical. It's easy.
Just go Brian.
Spell it out just phonetically.
Throw it out.
I did. My reading comprehension is not what you'd call well.
That's okay.
Andy sent me an Instagram message a couple weeks back or months back now, and she was saying, segue, and I did an Instagram voice message to her. I was like, what the fuck is segui? And that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Yeah, not to be confused with the rider, the Segway riding.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I said there's 3 segues.
There's 3 segues. You pick one and crash it.
Exactly.
So you're in Florida right now. I'm sorry.
Don't tell anybody.
Ooh, got bad news for you. We'll have to bleep that out later. You're in.
That's fine. It's fine. We're here.
Well, breaking news. Back. He doesn't care.
Yeah, it's just that's the kind of day it is today.
I hear you.
Is it Friday yet? It's Thursday. It doesn't matter anymore what day it is.
It's true. Yeah. It all just blends in. Today? Yeah. I found out once you get married and own a home, work just seems to not stop. Whether it's Monday, Saturday, a holiday, you always have to do something.
Well, just throw in 4 kids and about 100 employees, and it's 24/7.
I mean, you look great for having 4 kids.
Yeah.
Well,
seriously.
really tightened it back up.
I barely felt it. I'll be honest.
Poor Sarah.
I heard about it though.
So we had some. So I listened to a keynote speech you did. I don't know when it was from, but I found it on the old YouTube. And you brought up some really interesting topics that we haven't really discussed before in this way. And you had really interesting terms or phrases that you called them. One of them was keep fishing. Now I know you're in Florida. I don't mean keep fishing out on the ocean, but do that too.
Yeah.
But the idea of keep fishing, of keep taking chances, keep putting it out there, because you miss 1,000% of the shots you don't take, right?
Yeah. It's interesting. My dad always had this thing about fishing and farming, and I grew up a country boy, and my dad was a blue collar guy. He went back and forth to the airport every day. He wore a shop coat. He came home, his hands were rough. He had oil under his fingernails, and he worked his ass off. He worked 80, 90 hours a week. A lot of Saturdays we didn't see him, and interestingly enough, he sent us to private school to wear a suit and tie to school. where,
Oh, wow.
Well, isn't
You
that
know-
the dream though? From what I remember, your dad came from Germany.
yeah, he actually escaped from East Germany in a train to West Germany when the border wall was still up.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It's the
wow.
old story. I came to Canada with one bag and a quarter in my lederhosen on the ship in the winter.
We call that the
uphill through a
American
storm.
dream. We
Yeah,
call it
I mean,
the
that's-
American dream.
That's how everybody kind of got here and
Yeah.
started the the chaos that is North America.
Love it.
But we go to the school and there really the status symbol was what kind of car are you getting dropped off in, and do you have
Yeah.
a horse on your shirt, and how big is your house, and all this kind of stuff. So it was assumed that you would go to law school, go to medical school, become a business magnate, whatever it was. And the joke in the class, the kind of unspoken joke, was if you fuck up in here, you're going to be out there working with the maintenance guys. And I this is metaphorical, and I metaphorically was looking out the window thinking, well, shit, I want to go work with the maintenance guys. I want to drive the tractor. I want to be doing this stuff. And
Yeah.
so the trades and that kind of thing was never really a direction that was pointed. So I ended up, thinking I want a nice car. My dad's lawyer has a nice car. I should be a lawyer. And, years later, I didn't go to law school. I went back to trade school. I did my renovation tech. I did my Part 9 building code updates. I hung my shingle out. And I went and worked 7 days a week, 90 hours and got the rough hands. And years later, especially after the television thing popped off, and that was another, crazy thing, I bumped into these friends who were still kind of struggling, still doing their day-to-day thing, living paycheck to paycheck, paying the minimums on their cards. And, they'd see that, my house got a little bigger or the car got a little nicer, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I always got these, must be nice, and you're a guy. And it's kind of like, well, these are the same guys. And my dad came up with the fishing and farming thing, and he used to tell me about it. These are the same guys that you go out at 5 a.m. and they throw one cast and they don't catch a fish, and they go, well, fuck, there's no fish here. Let's go home. And you come back, 14 hours later with a boat full of fish, and I was just raised. If I want something, if I want to fish for dinner, I will cast every inch of every shoreline of every lake until I have a fish to eat. And then some prick taps you on the back and says, oh, must be nice. Well, the fish didn't jump in the fucking boat,
Well, they don't see the work that's going in behind it, right?
No, they don't see the work, and they don't see the days you're out there in the rain and the lightning and getting yelled at and missing your kids, and it's all metaphorical. They don't see the weekends traveling. They don't see the coming home.
I
when
hope
kids
you're
are
not
in
out
bed.
in a boat fishing while there's lightning. I mean, that's just a recipe for disaster.
Some days, there's that too, but.
Yeah.
No, it's that whole idea, and on the farming side as well, because I talk about fishing and farming. And I
you
saw
had a
a
really
great
good
video.
seed analogy. You had a really good seed analogy, which I really liked. It was something to the effect of. Let me see if I have this right, and correct me, because I'll probably be wrong. Is you can go out there and you can plant your seeds and wait for the harvest and put in the hard work, or you can just eat your seeds and be done and not have anything to actually get at the end. And it's I think it's a really good analogy. Instant gratification versus putting in the hard work, like you're talking about. Growing up, I didn't know what I wanted to do for a living. I still don't know what I want to do for a living. I mean,
most of us don't.
Yeah. I've had people ask me throughout the years, like, hey, you ever think about going back to school? And I'm like, what the fuck for? Like, what am I going to go pay, thousands of dollars to figure out what I still don't know?
You know what, though? I have nothing against going back to school.
No, it's great if you know what you want to do.
And
it's going to the right school.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to know, kind of have a bit of a plan before you go back, but there's nothing wrong with going back to school ever.
I think when you mature a little bit, it's like when I went back to, I went and did a degree in political science, and then I took a bunch of business courses, and I came out of there, and sure, I learned how to, manage a business and build a business plan. And that was important. And I always say politics teaches you how to lie, cheat, and steal, and business teaches you how to account for it. And
what a combo.
Yeah, I mean, and to be honest, when we have a lot of young trades guys come to the company, and the first thing they say is, one day I want to open my own company and do what you've done. And I say, that's great. I'm happy for you, but don't do it till you're 30. Like, take some time. Let us pay to teach you. Let us pay for you to make your mistakes. Go back to school, learn how to run a business. There's so many great tradespeople out there that are, they're artists with their hands, but they can't run their business. And if you can't run your business, you're not going to be here in 10 years to warranty that job that you just did. You're not going to be able to eat on the weekend. And, so there's a lot involved. And I think when you go back to school, it's like when I went back to George Brown, I went because I wanted to learn something, not because that's just what you're supposed to do. So when you go to be educated rather than, go to school because you're expected to, it's a completely different experience.
I mean, you can always do what I did. I just walked into colleges and sat in on classes I wanted to learn stuff about.
Yeah. Perfect.
I just started a new job in January, and I was redoing my resume for it. And I had a fellow tradesperson looking over my resume, and I have a religion degree. Mm-hmm. And he's like, why are you leaving that on there? Like, this has nothing to do with anything trades related. And I was like, yeah, but it shows that I can sit down and I can write out paperwork. I can finish what I started. Like, there's pros of having those, I'm not going to say useless degrees, but degrees that I probably won't do anything with.
Yeah. And then, I mean, do you know how many times I've heard someone scream Jesus Christ on a job site?
Yeah. Well, not only that, I mean, the sales and marketing tips you picked up in that course must have been amazing.
I mean, listen, the dude turned water into wine. Tell me that's not a fucking the sale of the century.
Yeah, we need to keep that away from the tradespeople, though.
Right.
But I also found that completing that degree got me to that point of maturity where I could kind of hone in on what exactly it was that I wanted to do a bit more. So I had that kind of super expensive free time to figure out what I wanted. But
17 or 18 is 17 or 18 is too young, I think. Nobody really knows what they want to do. I didn't know until my late 20s when I said, you know what, I'm not going to law school, and this is the direction I should, maybe my mid 20s, but I'm certainly not at 17 or 18.
I'm just figuring it out now.
Yeah.
I'll be 33 this year. So will Andy. She's old.
I am not 33 this year.
I said, you're going to be 33 this year.
No.
Andy, we're the same age, and you're actually older than me.
32 this year.
What year were you born in?
89.
Oh, fuck. I thought we were the same age. Okay. You're still old.
Episode 22.
Episode 22.
Yeah, you guys are old. Oh, God. Yeah.
Speaking of fishing, so in that keynote, you talked about how you ended up working with HGTV. You threw an email out there and an off chance, like, hey, why not? I mean, same thing I did with you. Hey, would you potentially want to come on the podcast? And most of the time, it's left on red, and every once in a while, somebody would be like, yeah, fuck it. I got an hour to kill. I got some brain cells to lose. But you ended up working with them and creating shows. So for me, me and Andy and a lot of people on Instagram, that's how me and Andy met. We're videotaping what we're doing at work or taking pictures of our work, and we're posting it. But we're the ones really setting the angle, setting the view for what we want people to see. And we don't have someone in our face going, so what the fuck are you doing?
What is that? On your shoulder.
Yeah.
What is it like having someone or having people, a whole crew, just follow you around with a camera all day? And how do I get somebody to do that for me? That's the real question.
Careful what you wish for. Yeah. It's interesting now because, social media is a really interesting thing. Everybody now, including yourselves, everyone's a broadcaster. You are a film crew, you are an editing crew, you are a broadcaster, you're content creators. Everybody is right now, and the medium has changed. If you've got access to the internet, you are a station. HGTV is a really interesting beast because a lot of people look at it and they think, well, this is the voice of the construction. No, this is a television station, providing entertainment. There's a bit of reality in there. Of course, it's all out of context. It's all edited.
Oh yeah.
This is something that I've I don't know about battled with, but years ago when I wanted to get into this, I thought I was watching the shows with the old guys that started, and they bring in the plumber, the electrician. Well, yeah, I mean, this old house was on for years. That's kind of a
I love
it's
that
kind
show.
of a public television side, right?
Yeah.
You've got to, I mean, that's a how-to video. It's a how-to show. There's some interesting guys on it. I love watching it to see what it is, but that will never be a top-rated show that brings in millions of dollars worth of advertising and airs in key air spots, because we want to see that. You know,
what if we put Bob Vila though in a Speedo?
I'm sure there's a market segment out there that will.
Evan is.
If HGTV is ever listening, you're looking for banana hammock construction, I got your company right here.
You're ready. You're ready to go.
I can't unhear that. Oh,
I don't know if the demographic is big enough to support. You know, at the end of the day, it's the advertisers that want people to see it. You've got to create content that people are going to watch. There's something called the HGTV effect. And this is something where, you know, I've had discussions with friends of mine in the trade. They're like, oh, these, you know, I walk in and the guy thinks I'm going to do the house for free like you do on TV in half an hour. And I said, well, then that guy's stupid. I mean, nobody thinks that, you know, nobody is that small-minded that they watch television. They think that's real. You know, NCIS, it's not real. It is.
Don't tell me that.
At the end of the day.
Don't tell me that.
I mean, things happen. You know, like what you see has actually happened. And
so
we're not in it.
It's not like the Anchorman documentary. Is that what we're saying?
Oh, it's very similar. Yeah, it is like the Anchorman documentary. Yeah.
But yeah, they take what, weeks worth of work, sometimes months worth of work,
or years worth of work,
or years worth of work. They boil that down into what, a 28-minute episode, and then subtract the commercials out of that. I mean, what are you left with? Like 22 minutes of actual content, you know? And it's like, even the videos we post, like, you know, I edit my stuff, you know, you
can't say everything.
Right. You don't see the hour of me struggling with this panel, trying to walk this thing over there by myself, get it up on a forklift by myself and lift it up the wall. And no, you just see me.
Look how beautiful it is.
Wow. Look how one finger just lifting 1,000 pounds, you know?
Well, that's how the cake.
Thought you meant you edit your Speedo videos and you don't see the struggle, and I was like, the struggle to get.
Oh boy!
Oh no, I do that too. It's like a sausage trying to put on another sausage.
I mean, it really is like a baking video. You know, you see the ingredients go in, it goes in the oven, it comes right back out, it's cooked perfectly. You know, meanwhile, you burnt 15 of them. I mean, I always joke in the format shows. You know, Disaster DIY is the one I started with. You know, I always joke to my buddies that, you know, complain about the shows. And I said, well, the great thing is, you know, if you watch that show, I'm perfect. I'm always there on time. I never cut a 2x4 too short. We always have exactly the right amount of material. We're always ahead of schedule. We're always under budget. The homeowner's always happy.
It's the dream.
You know, well, yeah, of course it's a dream, but I have a team of editors that make sure that's the show. That's the entertainment. Right. You watch House of Brian or The Island, or, you know, and then you see, you know, shit happens and goes sideways. And anyone with more than 4 brain cells to rub together is going to watch one of the format shows and go, you know what, here's what it boils down to. The HGTV effect. And there's articles out there, you know, speaking to this. The growth of viewership on HGTV in Canada, and I would argue in the US as well, there's a direct correlation to residential construction and renovation spending. People watch the show, they go, oh my God, that looks great. I should call a contractor and get a job done here.
Right.
That is the effect that it's having. It's entertainment that inspires people to spend money on their home. That money gets spent with the trades and the contractors. So rather than someone sitting there saying, these shows make people think it's free, these shows make people call you and spend money to renovate their houses. And it's growing and growing and booming.
And in my case, my wife watches these shows and she goes, hey, hon, you can do that. And I'm like, yeah, I've never fucking tiled a bathroom before, but hey, let's do it.
It only takes 22 minutes. Come on. I mean,
if it takes any longer, I'm calling you.
They're like, I can do that. And then you call the contractor when they've screwed it up and they need the help to fix it.
Yeah. And I think any really, you know, decent person is going to get to a job site. You have to explain the realities of the home. I mean, we get it too. You know, we have, you know, a lot of sites on the go. We have a huge pipeline and you know, very busy construction company at home. And we get it too. They're like, oh, is Brian coming to tile the shower? And are we getting the TV for free? And it's like, no, there's no film crew here. Like this is real now. So
I mean, listen, if you want, I can have my apprentice stand behind me with a phone for an hour, but I'm only going to take $10 off your bill.
There you go.
Speaking of apprentices, or just hiring people, it's really interesting what you talked about on that. I'm going to keep going back to it because it was really like you said a lot of things that really like stuck with me and things I think we've all thought about. You know, you have people come in and interview. They give you speaking of resumes, you know, like, here's my resume. Here's what I've done. I paid
Crumple it up and throw it away.
Yeah. I had a service years ago.
Get out of here.
Yeah. I paid a service years ago. I was thinking about working overseas, right? Because hazard pay, I wasn't married. I wasn't dating anyone. I was like, yeah, send me to Iraq. I'll work on some transformers in a battle zone, you know? And they made a very professional resume for me using words that even I don't understand.
That's not really saying that much.
Okay, listen, Andushi. You know, but when you sit down at an interview, you know, and I've done it plenty of times, I've worked, you know, in the trades, like I said before, you know, I got laid off yesterday. I'm already talking to companies. That's one of the beauties about being in the trades is if you don't own your own company and you have a skilled trade that you are good at, you can find work. There's always a job. I've never been out of work longer than I've wanted to be. Yeah. But you sit down with someone and they look at your resume and they basically crumple it up and like, let's see what you can do. I'll give you X amount of time to show me you're worth the dollar that you're saying you're worth. And you basically, you don't even do that anymore from what I understand. You just say, meet me at the job. We'll put you to it and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, you know, when I started in this business, I mean, you know, I opened my first company at 14 years old. It was the Moon River Handyman, you know, my buddy Pat and I in a 16-foot aluminum boat and a 9.9. And that's how we kind of started and end up, you know, working with contractors and cleaning up garbage and painting and moving material and whatever. We kind of, you know, grew up through that, did our apprenticeship hours with a framer and, you know, just got into it. But interestingly enough, you know, I learned over those years, it's, if you want to get a job and somebody says, hey, do you know how to drive that thing? Hey, do you know how to cut this? You know how to cut that? You can say, yeah, I do. And then you get up on the roof and they say, okay, cut the valley jacks. And you're standing there like an idiot, you know, staring at your square and this piece of wood and you have no idea what you're doing. You look like an asshole, like immediately. So I realized that. So, you know, the first time I said, no, I don't. But if you show me, and then the guy goes, oh, yeah, I can show you in 5 minutes. Like I can teach you how to do something in 5 minutes and you can do it and improve and go. But you tell me you're good at it and you get up there and you've lost your chance. So
I've lost my first job so quickly because of that.
Yeah.
I went to work for, I said, oh yeah, like I've been doing side work with these union guys and they taught me and I know what I'm doing. And I was at a job and the guy who I was working for kept sending me out to the van to get stuff like an MC connector or this or that. I had no fucking clue what the.
You're reading the boxes like what am I looking for?
And I was no, this is before smartphones, Andy.
Oh boy.
And I'm calling these union guys who got me into the trade, who are friends of friends, and luckily they're answering. And I'm like, bro, what the fuck's an MC connector? What does it look like?
Yeah.
Like, and sure enough, you know, very quickly they found out that I didn't know anything after I drilled through a bunch of beams, the joist like a 1/4 inch off the edge and basically cost them a couple grand. But
and I don't, when I look at a resume, I don't care if you've been to 15 universities and 3 different trade schools and apprentice for 15,000 hours and you've got, you know, a Red Seal ticket. You have to have what you need legally to do the work. If you're an electrician, right, you need to have your certification, you know, or HVAC or gas or whatever it is. But when it comes to, you know, a tile installer, that's art. I mean, it is 90% art and 10% science. It's a pair of hands that are installing something, and that is practice on site. Anything out there, right? I mean, we can. Somebody had to learn how to do it first with the internet now, and 100%,
but doesn't have to be licensed to be a carpenter, correct?
Exactly. And some of the best guys I know have never been to school for
so long. They've been doing it, and it's second nature to them now.
Yeah. Here in Jersey, and to me, you don't have to be licensed to work for a company. No.
So for which trade?
All of them.
Oh, for
New Jersey. So I'm not licensed. I moved around the country a lot. I lived in New England. I lived down in Florida, like I said, and I've worked everywhere. And in New England, you have to be a registered apprentice with this, very much like Canada, like a school, everything. New Jersey, it's kind of like the Wild West, where unlike, up in Canada, where it was like, okay, if you want to be going to the trades, you have to go to a trade school. Like it was kind of, I guess, known at least a little bit. When I got in, it was just like, you go work for a company, and if you get your hours, and then you can, someone said once in a blue moon, oh yeah, you can go to school and do your hours for schooling. Like, I'm not licensed. I've been doing this for 15 years. I do major industrial and commercial projects. Like I've learned as I went. I own a code book. I know how to, go through it and find what I need most of the time, but everywhere's different.
You're doing that underneath
under a
the
license. Yes.
Yeah, right. So I mean that license is responsible for you.
Right.
It's not like it's not like a pilot. Like I want my pilot to have a pilot's license. I want both pilots up there to be licensed pilot.
Yeah.
I don't want the guy in the right.
I've seen it done. I can.
He learned on the internet.
Yeah, I've said this before. I want my doctor to have gone to school for being a doctor. Like,
yeah.
But why do they still call it a practice then? I'm just saying.
Because they're always improving, Ev.
Interestingly enough, there is absolutely nothing. There isn't a single, trade or job or art or anything that you can't learn yourself. There is all of the information in the world is available on the internet. The problem is a lot of people. Yeah, I mean, and when I first started, I watched every video on YouTube. When I wanted to learn how to tile, I wasn't taught how to tile. It was like smear this stuff and stick the tile, but that's not how you get good at it. That's the science of it, sure.
Right.
But, I watched every video, I read every book, I watched every installer, I asked questions, I practiced, I tried, I pulled it up, I tried again. That's the way to learn. And some people are great. They want to learn something, they can go out and learn it for themselves. And some people need to be sat down and fed the book and fed the science, and then put in their room to do their homework and practice. And different people are different. And that's why I don't care what's written on the piece of paper.
Right.
I care that you're a decent person. You're going to show up. You're sober. You're going to work hard and learn.
Sober's a big one.
It's a big one. And you're going to want to learn and be honest. If you don't know, tell me, we can teach you. But don't tell me if you don't, because that's it.
Yeah.
Hey, I learned to drive a forklift by learning to drive a forklift.
Yes.
You want to hear a funny story about a forklift?
Oh yes.
So when I was younger, my dad had this aircraft sheet metal company at the airport, and I was I think I was 15 years old, and out on the ramp there was this cargo company that was operating. And they flew, for UPS and Purolator and a few others. They flew packages around. They had these old freighters, and they had this 8-wheeled, 32,000-pound Heister forklift with like so many knobs that you just get in there and.
I think this thing will make me a cup of coffee if I hit the right button.
Exactly. And I always looked at this thing as a 15-year-old kid and I thought, oh my God, I just want to drive that. And one day, the guy from the airline comes over to me and goes, hey, our guy that loads the airplanes is sick. Do you know how to drive that thing? And I just looked at him and I was like, oh, fuck yeah.
This is how Brian bought an airplane.
Yeah, no, so I spent the afternoon moving empty containers around and figuring out how to drive this thing. And for the next couple of years, I would go in at 9:00 at night and load these airplanes with these, 10,000-pound containers you got to pick up off the ground and roll up to the airplane a foot from the wing. And tilt at the right time and slide these containers in. The guys would move them forward, lock them into place. And I never put a scratch on an airplane. And I don't know how many years I was doing that, 4 or 5 years. And then when I left, I moved out to Vancouver for a little while. And they brought this new guy in. They're like, oh, you're leaving in a week. Can you train this guy? I was like, oh, shit. The week after I left, I'm talking to one of the guys at the company. He goes, yeah, dude dropped the container on the wing of the airplane, $1 million damage like that. So some people can just get in and learn, and some people need to be taught.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's that mechanical aptitude, right? Like one of the things that I love about the apprenticeship process is that I theoretically could be learning like out of the book, the theory behind what I'm doing. And then I go back to work and I can actually apply what I'm learning. And it means more to me. And then I have the practice of why we're doing it, which helps me remember what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and the process for it. Like I find that really
amazing.
I just know how to do it.
Yeah, see, and like, but that's Evan and I's different learning styles.
No, yeah. I love to learn why I'm doing things, but I think the most important thing is knowing how to do it the correct way. Like knowing why is
there's
great.
a few correct ways too. I mean, a lot of things. There's
absolutely, each company has their own way of doing things. Like I tell people, like when I started a new company, and I've worked for a few companies over the years, I say, they ask me, hey, we're going to need you to run, some conduit, install a panel, blah, 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 blah. Okay, not a problem. Know how to do it. How do you guys like it done? Do you want cowboys? Do you want strut on the wall? Do you want, offsets with straps? How do you want it done? So that way I can do it how you want it done. It's still the correct way. I'm still going to install it properly, and it's still going to be there for however long it needs to be there. But at the end of the day, knowing how to do it is just as important as knowing why you're doing it, because knowing why
that's a really fun part of doing a television thing. I say fun, I don't mean fun. Imagine you've got millions of people sitting on your shoulder every day sharing their opinion about how you did something. And there's shows airing from 17 years ago where even I watch them, I'm like, oh shit, yeah, we don't do that anymore. Or, I learned from there, we changed that, or
right.
A great example, we had we showed up to a site, we were filming a bathroom, and the guys had already, when I say the guys, this was back in the day where I filmed all day and then stayed all night and worked, and showed up early and worked until the film crew came back. So we finished the floor, and our director looks and goes, oh shit, we needed a shot of some tiles going down on the floor, just little connective bits, right? So it doesn't go from nothing to finish. And I said, okay, no problem, I'll grab some underlayment. I'll throw down a piece of plywood. I'll just lay some underlayment on. You can get a close up of a tile going into the goo, and that kind of gets us from A to B. So I'm there stapling the underlayment down onto a piece of plywood just so it doesn't flop around. And I look over, and he's filming. And I was like, no, don't film this. This is not how we do it. We have to embed it in the mud and roll it out. I'm like, don't film that. So I don't know how long later this episode aired, and I stopped watching the rough cuts because I don't care if I make a mistake. I made a mistake. I don't care. That's the first thing I'll tell you is like I screw up all the time. If I catch it in the rough cut, sure, we'll pull it out. But I don't care. I got the shirt on.
Yeah.
So I start getting all these emails. I start getting all these emails and messages like, "What kind of moron staples down tile underlayment?" And I went, "Oh fuck." So I went back and I watched the episode. There's me stapling down the underlayment before we tile. And I just thought, oh, here we go. And, the answer was, somebody said, well, what kind of, my answer was like, oh yeah, we screwed up. Move on. Like enough. Yeah. I don't have half a day to explain it.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. Speaking of not having time to explain, entitlement. This is something you talked about, which it just set a fucking beam off. I work with a lot of, I'm going to say it again. I'm getting older, so I'm working with a lot of younger guys. I'm working with guys and girls, people, the youths.
Yeah.
Who are coming in, who were my age when I started. And, they walking around with their hands in their pockets, not hustling, simple things like getting the coffee order right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then when
that kid, seriously, I sent a kid twice to do coffee orders. There's like 10 guys. I used to do a coffee order for 40 guys.
Yeah.
Every time he either messed up my coffee or forgot my sandwich.
That's maddening.
It is. All right. I digress.
We're getting them all heated.
We've hit a nerve. We've hit a nerve.
All hot and bothered. You don't fuck with a man's bacon or coffee.
Here's the thing about entitlement, I look at it two ways. I look at it as, now a father of 4 kids where I'm like, get off your ass, you better do some work. And then I look at it as an entrepreneur and a business owner. And, here's something that goes with fishing and farming. My dad used to always say this, you drive by a farm and you see 1,000 sheep out in the field, but there's only one house in the field. And that's where the shepherd, the farmer, lives. And you know what the difference is between the sheep and the shepherd? A sheep stood up one day and he was like, fuck this. I'm going to go live in the house. You guys stay here, carry on. There needs to be, for this balance of whatever, we've built here, for you to own a company and run a company, there needs to be those guys. There needs to be those guys that we look at and like, you're entitled, you're lazy, that has to exist for you to exist. Because if everybody gets up at 5:30 in the morning and hits the road and gets out there and they're scrambling for it, then what? Then what are you?
Right.
That's a tough one. So
I find
that part has to exist for.
Yeah.
It makes our job easier. I find it's easier to be successful when you're in a room full of people that are still asleep at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Great way to think about it. I've never thought about it like that.
Yeah. But you also have to try and motivate those people to get out of them what you need. And there's a way to do that through money. There's a way to do that through like shame, shaming them. Like, oh, look how lazy you are.
I love a good shaming.
Of course. But, I have a friend of mine who we were kind of laughing, and we're in business together in a couple of businesses. And he came in one day and he was all happy. He said, oh, our best guy, our best framer just bought a snowmobile and a brand new truck. And he goes, it's great. It's great. And I was like, why are you so happy? He goes, what do you mean, why am I so happy? The guy's not got $1,200 a month in payments. He like, we got him forever. He's not going anywhere.
He's locked in.
So that's the joke. The minute these guys start buying all this stuff and they got all these payments, they're like, I own you, right? You have to work. You're here and you got to put the work in. So I find there's a lot of different ways to look at specific situations, and 99.999% of any problems or issues or anything on the planet that goes sideways it boils down to the communication and perspective. And if you communicate things properly, and if you're able to step back and look at it from a few different angles, all of a sudden you go, okay, I understand why they're doing that, why they think this way, but let me pull the good out of it.
Yeah. Well, that's a really good point you make, though, because that's not something that's.
I think we're frozen.
I think it's just you. We're back. Can you hear me? Hello.
Can you hear us?
I think we're back. I can hear you, but Evan looks pretty frozen. I can hear you.
Yeah, it's gonna jump around. It's all good. You bring up a really good point, though. The perspective and the communication. We talk a lot on here about common sense not being common. Okay.
Right.
You don't know what you don't know until you know it, or until you're taught it. And whether you're a business owner for a construction company, or whether
it's gonna flip you over.
There you go. Or whether you're a journeyman or a mechanic or whatever, anytime you have somebody younger working with you or working under you or working for you, it's not just, I feel, your responsibility to teach them how to do things. It's also kind of your responsibility to teach them how to think about things, going back to the knowing why and knowing how. Entitlement isn't just, well, I deserve this or I deserve that. It's obviously something in the makeup of like, somebody doesn't understand, like deep down inside, like there's certain things that they need to know or certain ways they need to act because they haven't been taught that way. So on a job, when things go sideways, I have two options. I can flip out and lose my shit and teach this younger person that's what you do when shit goes sideways. Or like you said, I can go, okay, wait, let's take a second. Let's break down this problem. Why did this happen? How can we fix it? And let's move forward and not let this ruin everything.
Right. Exactly.
I think a lot of tradespeople are just like, well, I'm just here to do my job and that's it. When part of your job is also being a role model.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
part of your. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Andrew.
When things go wrong, that's an opportunity to figure out how to fix it too. So just the other day, we were installing transformers on top of these big machines, and we dropped a bolt into the panel. And of course, there's no easy access for it. So I'm shoulder deep into this machine, waving my magnet on a stick around, trying to catch this bolt because I know it needs to get out there. But we had to stop and take a second and think about, okay, what are some different methods that we can use to get this out? What are the access hatches? So we got to know our machine that we were working on a little bit better. Yeah. What are some of the other tools that we might be able to use? So we originally first tried a magnet. We were going to use a magnet on a string, but we only had tie wraps. So we used tie wraps and we dropped this magnet around and it was swinging back and forth. So we're like, okay, this isn't going to work. So it gave us a couple different steps of, okay, this didn't work. Scratch it off the list. We're going to try something else, but we liked the magnet idea. So let's stick with that and see where else we can go from here. So,
Right.
But I mean, this is how man walked on the moon, right? I mean, the first 100 rockets blew up before they got
supposedly.
I mean, yeah,
Just
theoretically,
kidding.
in a studio.
allegedly.
Yes. No, but I mean, the first 100 blew up, and then one made it. They were like, oh shit, okay, well, and then it blew up on its way back, and then eventually they're like, okay, we made it.
And then they're like, let's send a monkey up.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I always say you learn more from mistakes than you do, from not. And I have learned a lot over the years, like an incredible amount. And
Right.
I think, not only mistakes, but you learn in the solution. It's like Andrea just said, you drop that bolt in there, that's a mistake. You're going to learn how not to do that next time. Like maybe let's cover up these giant holes that will allow that bolt to fall in the panel. But you also learn how to get into the panel, how to get into it from the back, maybe how to take it apart quicker, how to, you learn all these little things. Whereas if you just put the bolt in and put the nut on, that's all you would have learned, So
speaking of holes and angles, I think this is the perfect time to segue right into just the tip.
I thought you were going to say, speaking of screw ups.
Yeah, speaking of screw ups,
there's a lot of those.
Yeah. So for those who are listening for the first time, this is our segment called Just the Tip. It's where our guest here, Brian, will give us and our listeners a tip, some advice. It could be about construction, could be about work, could be about angles and holes, or just life in general, whatever he sees fit. So Brian, what is your Just the Tip for this episode?
Just the tip in general, I think, is, open your mind, open your ears. Use your brain before you open your mouth. Your mouth is the last thing that you should open. And that includes your fingers if you're on the internet.
Right.
It's take things in and learn how to step back and gain the perspective. If you don't have kids, get the perspective of someone that has kids. If you're a male, get the perspective of
I thought you were about to say, if you don't have kids, just have a kid.
Have a kid. Yeah. I mean, just go grab one.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Brian's just the kid.
I've got candy.
You'll need a van, but no, I mean,
check.
That is my biggest tip. It's make sure you see things from all different perspectives. It's before you react, think about it, really think about it from all different angles. And at the end of the day, I mean, when there's events that go on that are terrible, and it happens all the time. I mean, you could spend every day of every hour talking about the terrible things, but my response is always like, be kind and be human and just be good to each other. And that really means just sit down, take a minute, think about it, see everything from a different perspective, and then act. That's really the only way to do it.
Don't react, pause, think, act.
Exactly.
I like that.
All right, now it's time for a quickie. So 5 totally random questions that are simply designed to make you as uncomfortable as possible, and to bring me as much joy, because that's what makes joy in my life, is making other people uncomfortable. If you didn't know that already, check out my Delta Sparks pod page, or check out my page. You'll see me in a Speedo. It's wonders. Okay.
Sounds uncomfortable.
It's actually it's pretty form-fitting. You can get a lot more done, a lot more flexible.
I don't think he meant uncomfortable for you.
Yeah, it wasn't for you.
I know what he meant. So, Brian, clear your mind. First thing that comes to your brain when I ask you this question, just let it out the mouth hole. Okay. What is something everyone looks stupid doing?
Oh, everyone?
Everyone.
I think dancing.
Okay.
I mean, if you take the music away.
Sure.
So like a silent disco. If you're watching a silent disco and everyone has headphones on and they're just like, and you're like, why?
It's like when you're flipping through your phone, but you don't have the sound on. It's just simple.
You don't need sound though to make a Speedo look good. I also would have accepted trying to open a door with your hands full.
Too, yeah.
But I like where your brain went. Okay, question 2. What is the weirdest thing you've ever seen in someone else's home?
Oh, Jesus. We once found a Ziploc bag with the largest bra I've ever seen in my life. It was actually a piece of old hotel furniture that was bought from an auction, installed like as a finished piece of furniture, and it was behind the drawers. So we were taking this thing out, and we ripped everything out, and in behind the drawers, like stuck in the back, was this, massive bra. There was a handful of tissue. There were two $100 American $100 bills too. So that was like, that was like 300 Canadian at the time, and some lube.
I feel like you didn't have to think about that one much, because I feel like it's always right there. I got you. I like it.
That, right?
I like it.
Yeah, that's why I take the bed sheet off in hotels with my shoe now, like with my foot.
Except your hotel.
Not my own. Well, no, they're all brand new bed sheets. So
yeah.
There you go. What's the longest period of time you've ever gone without taking a shower?
I shower a lot. I usually shower 2 or 3 times a day. In the morning, if I'm doing stuff in the morning, middle of the day, especially in the Bahamas, a lot of sweat.
Yeah.
I would say it would probably have to be like a camping trip, like, probably like 24, 36 hours max, like before I'm in the lake or maybe winter camping. I did some winter camping, so maybe a week max. No, in a snow
you
place.
Say a year?
No, a yurt.
Oh, a yurt.
No, a snow shelter. You pile up snow and you stomp on it and let it set, and then you dig it out, climb in there. It's actually really warm.
Isn't that called an igloo?
No, an igloo you
like
cut blocks.
Yeah.
Tomato potato.
Yeah, it looks
tomato potato.
I'm going to assume that was in Canada.
Yeah, that was in Canada.
Yeah.
I actually did that in my backyard this year, so I don't know what you're talking about. What sport would be the funniest to add a mandatory amount of alcohol to?
Oh God. Anything really would be pretty funny. I mean, curling?
I was thinking that's exactly what I was going to say. Curling.
Well, aren't they
a mandatory amount of alcohol?
I was going to say, don't they drink anyway? I mean,
well, no, a mandatory amount.
Oh, like you must. Well, maybe bowling would be pretty funny because there's a lot of kinetics going on there.
I'm just thinking of 2 guys with 2 brooms trying to side shuffle down an icy hallway while totally blacked out. It's great.
That would be.
It would finally get me to watch curling. So I'm
sure it's happened. I mean, I'm sure it happens. It's probably happening right now.
As we speak.
Yeah. All right. Last question. Now I know you have a lot of pets, and we just have to say we love that you love cats. I love your cat.
Okay.
We're both big cat people.
Which one?
I love my cat. Not my.
We got Moxie, who's our Bahamian rescue. We've got Barney, who lives in my barn, my doghouse. That
I love how unique the names are. It's like on The Office. Like, this is garbage. We named him garbage because he eats garbage.
and then we had Melvin's the rabbit, but we had another cat. It was funny in the beginning of the island show. We kind of packed up and we drove out, and they pan back, and the cat's like in the door, looking at the door. Do you know how much hate mail I got? You left your cat behind. And I'm like, wait, there's an entire film crew there. We just got the shot of us driving down the driveway. And then we came back. We didn't leave the cat.
You're lucky I didn't see that.
We just left the cat for like a year and a half. That cat survived alone in the house. We just left. That was it.
We taught it how to use the toilet and the fridge. He was good to go.
If you thought, if our listeners thought we went hard on a couple episodes back about natural carpentry and all that shit, you leaving a cat behind, I will fucking go bananas on. Banana hammocks on. Okay.
Wasn't that a situation?
Oh my God.
That's a classic example of, and I know you probably don't want to get all into this, but it's very simple for me. It's a classic example of you fucked up.
Yeah.
All you got to do is be like, hey, you know what? We fucked up. Our bad. How do we fix this?
Apologize, learn from it, humble yourself, and move on.
Yeah, but instead it was
double down, triple down, quadruple down. Yeah.
Can I get a 50-gallon drum of gasoline and some matches, please? Like this. My God. Anyway.
All right. Last question. If your pets could talk, what's one thing that they would say about you that would totally embarrass you? Because pets see it all.
Yeah, they do. They do.
So basically what I'm asking is tell us something really embarrassing about yourself.
From your cat's perspective.
There's a lot of
perspective.
There's a lot of embarrassing
patch of
stuff.
hair under there.
No, there's not. I'm not a hairy. I'm not a very hairy guy.
I know what you think because of the beard, but shaved.
Yeah, it might be the. Oh God! I mean, they
the
could
naked
say
silent disco dancing.
Yeah, they could say a lot. It's the frying bacon while I'm naked. No, I learned that lesson.
That's dangerous.
Yeah,
that's a third-degree burn.
They probably say, one embarrassing thing. Sarah calls me out for this every now and then because I get up in the morning. I'll be reading news on the phone, like what happened. What blew up this morning. And there's sometimes, after like 15, 20 minutes, I get to like, are you done? You got to be done. you know what I'm talking about. Like what are you doing? You're still sitting there. You got to be done. Get off your phone, get out of there. There's more family members want to borrow that room. So that's probably my cat would talk because every night my cat sometimes just sits there and I don't know why it's not.
Both of our cats enjoy it, but one of our cats is super intense about this. It's called toilet time.
Yeah.
The cat jumps on your lap and starts rolling around and she drools. And my wife, seeing as she has to sit down to pee, and having colitis where, sometimes she's in the bathroom a lot throughout the day.
Yeah.
Fucking cat loves it. Loves it.
The funniest thing is though, when you see, you have a house guest in or something and they're sitting there petting the cat and they're like, you know where that cat was 10 minutes ago?
Yeah. or like when somebody tries to go into the bathroom and the cat darts to try to get in the door before they close it. And they're like, hey dude, your cat, just sit down, give her some time.
Let it happen.
Let it happen.
Yeah, it's not going to hurt.
Brian, thank you so much for coming on and spending some time with us. This was a lot of fun for us. Hopefully you didn't totally hate it. And if you did, not too bad. It's already recorded.
Too bad for me. No, it was great. I think, I think there's a lot of people like you guys that, have great podcasts, great content. I think I look around on the internet, on social media and, different tradespeople that are putting content out there. And I think it's great. I think it's incredible. I think everybody's kind of coming together and producing this content. It gives you different perspectives, like I said, different things to see, different people to talk to and listen to. And I think the more people that do it, the better. And the more relationships that are kind of created and connections that are created. I think it's great because the future of the trades and the real leaders in the trades and the real people that we want representing the trades are educated, well-rounded people that show up to work, people that are there to do it and want to talk about it and spread that kind of message. So I think what you guys are doing are great. And I think there's a lot of fun stuff out there and there's so much more to talk about. So everyone might have to do this again.
Absolutely. And, maybe next time we record in the Bahamas, and I have my Speedo on and we're just hanging Brian and taking in the scenery.
There you go. Yeah, you guys can head down to the hotel, and I'll patch in from wherever I am.
Well, everyone, please.
I also wanted to say hi to Sarah for us, and that we love her work as well, and she does absolutely beautiful work. So keep up with it.
I told my wife who we were talking to today, and she like doing her creepy Instagram and internet, creepiness, and she's like, "Oh my God."
Well, later today, you'll probably be building a new addition or something on the house. So
we're currently doing our kitchen. So
oh boy, we start the second half of season 3 of Island of Brian actually starts airing on Sunday in Canada, and it started last Sunday here in the U.S. And we start filming season 4 a week on Monday, and that's going to be kind of in between Florida, a little bit in Canada, a little bit in the Bahamas. And some new interesting projects that are coming up there. So
like I said, I know how to wire a GFI. Okay.
There you go.
Well, thank you again, Brian. Please check out Brian on Instagram, Facebook, the Twatter, or just, go to his page and book a room in the Bahamas for a week,
watch him on HGTV and
watch him and criticize him as best as you possibly can.
Yes, please. As much as possible.
Because he doesn't care. Brian, thank you so much. And as always, please remember, everyone, be yourself. Be yourself.
Is this a song?
Yeah.
Be yourself.
Barely.
Be yourself.
There we go.